We are Cactus Wrestling. Make sure you hit that like button and subscribe so you don't miss out on future videos.
Cactus Wrestling is now available on Spotify and Amazon. And don't forget to check us out on Etsy for all of your Cactus Wrestling apparel needs.
Welcome back to Cactus Wrestling. Here we are, just the two of us. I know
Just the two of us.
you've missed us so much. Mike in the morning or evening.
In the evening.
Mike in the evening. We are here with the breaking news. That's no, hardly breaking. It's been broke.
It's no longer breaking. Yeah.
Well, it's still developing.
Yeah, slowly but surely. We're learning more about it as the moments come by.
But yeah, Iowa has now fumbled, and they have got Bo Bassett fumbling around now, figuring out where he's going to go because he's no longer going to Iowa.
Think like Mark Sanchez playing for the Jets kind of fumble.
That's basically what we're looking at. Um, I mean, yeah, you had him locked up. You basically had Melvin Miller and Keegan Bassett also locked up, just
Yeah.
funneling right into Iowa. And depending on who you believe, there's kind of two sides to this story of what went
Yeah,
down. And I'm inclined to think that neither side's version is wholly true.
for sure. You know what they say, there's two sides and somewhere in the middle there's the truth.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So, because I mean, if you were to believe the Bassett's version of it, it's Big Bad Brands is evil and hates them and was screaming at the mother on the phone, which
Yeah.
probably did happen actually.
I said that's probably the truest part of this whole thing.
That yelling at the commit and whatnot, and so they are no longer on good terms. Um, but I mean, I think a fact of the matter is likely that they wanted to come train at the Hawkeye Wrestling Club, being Bo, Melvin, and Keegan,
Yep.
and they wanted their travel paid for. And the brand said, due to compliance, we are not able to do that, and put his foot down in that regard, saying, nope, we can't do that. That would be illegal for us to do that.
Mhm.
Somehow that led to some bad blood.
Yeah. So a lot of the wrestling media and wrestling personalities out there are kind of taking sides. Um, but three guys that are pretty well known as far as like breaking these kind of news stories and getting the insider scoop are Willie Saylor of Matt Scouts, Justin Bash of the Bashmania podcast, and Pat Minio for better or worse.
And
Um,
Cactus Wrestling.
and Cactus Wrestling, of course. But per Willie Saylor, Bo Bassett and Melvin Miller both wanted to train at the Hawkeye Wrestling Club, which other programs do with their recruits. We're seeing it right now with Jax Forrest, and how well he did training at Oklahoma State, getting ready for World Team Trials, which he won the spot, earned himself a spot in Final X, and who knows, he might even beat Vito. But Tom Brands told him it was a no, and he kind of got into a war of words with the Bassett family about how he was going to run his program and that recruits aren't just going to come in here and dictate things. He told them that the coaching staff were unable to pay for travel that the Bassett family wanted, um, specifically the flights from Iowa to Pennsylvania and back, which, as Mike talked about, was due to NCAA compliance. Um, Pat
Which,
Minio
granted, it
probably is true. Yeah, that
that is
makes
I
sense.
don't know the compliance rules, but I know they are in effect, and
Yeah,
that sounds likely not something that they are allowed to do is
yeah,
take
that
care and
agreed.
care of recruits. So that's that's not the unreasonable part of this.
So continued on that Pat Minio added to that story saying that their dispute about the compliance and the flights led to Tom Brands actually having, an argument with Bo's mom, which ultimately severed the relationship between the Bassett family and Iowa. Um, Justin Bash kind of confirmed that there's some false information out there saying that he spoke with Bo and that this has nothing to do with the NIL deal that Bo made. Um, it doesn't have anything to do with the new NIL rules that are starting soon. And Bash added that he's actually going to have Bo on the show to discuss some things.
Yep.
So that was the one side of it, where we're seeing a lot of people on like the Iowa message boards um, talking about how Bill Bassett, Bo's father, wanted to kind of dictate and create a role for himself at the Hawkeye Wrestling Club or at Iowa in general, um,
Why?
which was also something that was rumored about when when Bo was considering going to Rutgers. Is that people said, hey, like it's a done deal because they're going to give X amount of money and they're going to give dad a spot in the RTC and give mom a role at the school as a teacher. So they'll have the whole family in. So this isn't the first time that there's been mention of a coaching position for Bill Bassett.
Mm.
Why I think that's a little bit maybe not the case is that he's already a coach of a very successful high school program, the number two team in the nation, which is Bishop McCourt, only second to Faith Christian. Um, so it's not like he'd want to leave a good program that is now effectively a feeder program for colleges. Um, but it adds to the drama that Keegan Bassett put out a post, which got deleted, where he said, all we wanted is what every other top program has done for their commits. We don't want anything special or fancy,
Ashel.
yeah, but simply just what every other college offered to their guys that were committed. And like we said, Jax Forrest, we know for a fact, is training in Oklahoma State. Other commits are training in other parts of America. But the biggest issue appears to be with the travel and the cost of the travel. I can't say for sure how Oklahoma State is taking care of the travel expenses for Jax Forest, but I'm sure there's a backroom deal kind of thing for these sort of things, where if Iowa or the Hawkeye Wrestling Club or the Brands or Bob Nichols, whoever it may be for Iowa, really wanted to get this done, I'm sure they could have found a way to do it, although maybe not the legal NCAA way. But this is top tier college athletics. I mean, these guys are semi-pro athletes at this point with the amount of money that are being paid. The fact that they're drawing a hard line at one thing makes me think that there might have been other issues outside of what we're just seeing now.
Yeah, no, that's definitely. I mean, yeah, that's a very, very fair way to put it. Because I mean, you got some people that are closer to the Iowa side saying that like now everyone's going to think of the Bassett family as a problem family,
I
and
just don't see
no
that.
one's going to put up with it. And I mean, I feel like that's a bit of an extreme
That's a big
thing.
stretch. That's it. That's a stretch.
Yeah, that's
Um, I think that a lot of Iowa fans are going to be a little bit frustrated, and they're going to say, "Well, the juice just wasn't worth the squeeze," and try to rationalize it to themselves. Um, but from what I heard, Bo saw Jax's performance at, in freestyle and then compared it to his own performance in freestyle and said, hey, like what I'm doing currently is not cutting it anymore. I want to take it to the next level by training at a college program. Before committing, Bo traveled everywhere. He went to Oklahoma State. He went to Iowa. He went to Penn State, frequently to Penn State. But when you commit, the same thing that happened to Marcus Blaze, who was training at Ohio State. They're not going to say, oh, yeah, you're going to Penn State. You can still train here with us at Ohio State. They're going to say, nope, that deal is off the table. Um,
yeah,
Bo committed to Iowa, so a lot of the rooms that he was training in are saying, hey, man, like, we wish you the best of luck, but we are not going to help train our competition at this point.
yeah,
And
yeah, yeah,
so
exactly.
by seeing that, he said, well, my only shot is to go to Iowa. And if they're not going to pay for my flights, then, maybe they don't have it want to invest in me as much as I thought. Um, and Melvin Miller as we talked about, removed Iowa from his list. He had, I think, 8 or 9 teams, and it's down to either 7 or 8.
Yeah,
And
he releases his top nine and then
yeah,
immediately makes it his top eight.
yep. And then he wrote like family first, and he just crosses off Iowa,
Yeah.
which is a bad bridge to burn, honestly. But
Yeah. Yeah.
you know, I think there's a lot to be said about it. I think there's a lot of rumors, and we're not gonna, this might be something we never really know the answer to as to why. We could speculate, we could have a pretty good picture, but we won't know for sure. The biggest question mark now is where do we see Bo Bassett going? And not just Bo Bassett, but now Melvin Miller, who's the number one in the class of 2027,
Well, and
and
even
Keegan Bassett,
yeah.
who's quickly rising up the ranks as a 106.
Well, because I think those three are making it clear that the three of them are a package deal. Like
Yep.
whoever Bo goes, the other two are going to follow, and you got to consider that. Like it's not like, oh, I'm just going to fit this one guy into the lineup. I'm
Yeah.
fitting all
Three.
three.
Oh yeah.
So that I think will also weigh into the decision because, like, okay, yeah,
Sure.
narrowed it down to Penn State, Oklahoma State, and Nebraska. And one reason I don't think Penn State makes sense is I don't think there's room for all three of them there at that school. Like, where's Bo fitting into the lineup? And then once Melvin's there, where's Bo and Melvin fitting? Like,
So I will play, obviously defend Penn State here.
of course.
There's a great YouTube channel, Locked On Nittany Lions. He actually did a video about this and kind of talked about why he thinks Penn State is the favorite.
Oh.
Is that
Well, they are huge on faith, and Penn State would be
yeah, no, but he sees
favorite
where they fit
based on
in.
that. But I'm not even really weighing that as a consideration for.
So Penn State had a comparable, Oklahoma State and Penn State both had a pretty comparable package as far as NIL went. And they were, just a little bit below Iowa. I really believe, and we talked about this after the Iowa versus Penn State duel where Iowa lost 30-8 to Penn State. They pulled the trigger and said, we're going all in on Bo Bassett because he committed the next day. Um, but the rumor was that he was leaning toward going to Penn State anyway. What the guy on Locked On Nittany Lions talked about is that Bo is a junior in high school. Right now, he is wrestling at 144 in high school slash 65 kilo 143 for international. He goes, if he was a senior graduating right now, he would fit right into the 141 spot for Penn State, beating probably guys like Aaron Nagao or Braden Davis. But he's got another year of high school. What he expects is that Bo will come in when Shane Van Ness has his last year and either makes a stab to go 149 and beat Shane Van Ness in a wrestle off, or make the cut to 141. Bo might be growing, so 141 might not be an option anymore. But Shane Van Ness will only have one more year. That could be Bo's redshirt season. Melvin Miller is already larger than Bo. He's wrestling 57, 165, and he's a sophomore. So the idea is that in 2 seasons, he will come in to be either 174, possibly 184, and guys like Josh Barr will be graduating by then.
Well, Josh Barr's at 97.
Well, I meant Rocco Welsh, Josh Barr, those upper weight guys. Even guys like Will Henkel that are part of this class now will be 2 years ahead. Um, so it'll give Melvin that time to take a red shirt and then decide where he wants to go. And then finally, Luke Lillidahl would be done by the time Keegan Bassett enters as a 125. Do I think it's possible? Sure.
I
I
mean,
don't think it's
okay,
likely though
yeah,
to get all three. I mean,
I
it'd be
think
very
that's
hard.
possible, but I don't think it's likely either because I feel like Bo wants to be the starter, like
Starter immediately.
freshman,
Yeah.
like not
Um,
sit on the back burner and then do it. Like, so that's why I think that Oklahoma State or
well,
Nebraska are more
Oklahoma
like
State has a ton of guys that they've been recruiting though.
the. So
And
that's the
so,
thing. Oklahoma State isn't actually as likely because you got the Rainies and Jacks
yep. Yep.
who said they're going to go 33, 41, 49.
Mhm.
Where does that leave Bo? 57?
I don't think he's going to grow that big. In my opinion, he's not a very big 65 kilo guy.
Right.
I think that he's trying to grow himself, which is awesome. We always say like, there's no reason to cut, especially if you have the ability to not.
Right.
Um, that's why I'm almost leaning toward Nebraska right now, and I think that's why it's part of his final three is that it's it's a team that he could probably start as a freshman,
Yeah.
because they are not as heavily recruiting as other programs, and they're doing a good job actually developing the talent. I could
And
see
yet they're the number
Melvin
two
Miller
ranked
step right
team
in.
in the country. So,
Yeah, and I could see a Keegan Bassett step in because at this time in the video, Keegan is a great wrestler, but he's only like I think number 12 in the rankings for his weight class. True, he's a freshman, but Bo and Melvin were both number one their freshman year, and their sophomore years as well. So Keegan is kind of a little bit behind that, and because of that, I don't know if a big program like a Penn State or an Oklahoma State that's really trying to keep those elite level prospects are going to take a stab at Keegan just to say like, hey, we got the two of them, we might as well keep the brother on the bench, when all three of them could start theoretically at Nebraska and continue to be built by a really great Husker program.
I mean, yeah, that's a pretty solid point. That I mean, the Huskers would really, I mean, he would be the face of the program.
Especially, I mean, you're talking this time next year, you have Bo Bassett and AJ Ferrari. Ticket sales are going to be through the roof. People will be more interested in the Husker program than they've been in years.
Or
They're going to
ever.
continue to be a top program. I mean, this
Yeah.
could be the big move that Nebraska needs to really propel themselves into full-time relevance. I
Well,
mean,
and then have Mark Manning retire and Jordan Burroughs slide
yeah.
in.
Yes, dude. I mean, even now, like Nebraska took second last year. They are geared up to have a great team. We talked about it in our video, and
Mhm.
yet everyone's still talking about Penn State, Iowa, and Oklahoma State. What does it take for Nebraska to get that kind of love? And I think if you have Melvin Miller, Bo Bassett, and AJ Ferrari on the same lineup, are you kidding me? That would be insane.
Yeah, it'd be pretty cool.
We talked about Jordan Burroughs as a potential coach.
Oh yeah, yeah. If Burroughs took over the program, yeah, no, yeah, you said that would be great, and
I
then you
said with
started to
AJ
say something.
Ferrari, I said like it would finally get Nebraska the respect they deserve in the sense that, we have all these top teams and people still aren't giving Nebraska the credit. I mean, they just took second in the national championship and it's already, well, Oklahoma State, are they going to beat Penn State this year? And it's
Yeah,
like, dude,
Oklahoma State didn't even take second.
yeah. And I'm like, like, oh, I was back. Now they got Bo Bassett. He goes, okay, well, Nebraska didn't leave.
And yeah, Nebraska has a pretty solid team. I mean,
And
granted,
we
it
talked
isn't
about it.
quite
Yeah.
as good as their
Last season. But,
last
I think
season.
AJ Ferrari
Well,
could get
on
some really
paper at
serious
least.
points for them.
No, that he's gonna get some serious points. I mean, that's
Yeah.
basically replacing
National.
Ridge
Yeah.
Lovett with AJ.
Yep. And I think that as we talked about, it could be really a team that gets all three of the Bassett clan. Um, I think Bo is going to wait longer for his commitment this time, having learned that, hey, like other programs are going to kind of slam the door on me in the sense that he he obviously isn't satisfied with how he did at U20s or seniors. And he's like, I gotta keep finding ways to up my practices and up the room I train with. And will he be able to leverage it this time and say, "Hey, will you let me train at Penn State that's right down the street if I consider committing to you guys?" Or, is he gonna try to squeeze that one out of them again? Or are they gonna say, "Look, dude, like we're not playing games anymore. You're not allowed here." Um,
Yeah, I feel like
I don't
they
yeah,
might do that until you commit. That's when the door will open.
yep. Um, I'm looking at some more information. So another wrestling media personality, Brian Swawa. I don't know how to pronounce it. It's SWAW, Swal, potentially. But he was saying that the events of the Bo Bassett kind of breakup occurred about a week before the deadline for payment. So both parties agreed to the deal before the NIL lawsuit was settled. Currently, all agreements must go through a clearinghouse, which suggests that it is unlikely for Bo Bassett to receive the terms originally proposed over the next 5 years. So it's kind of similar to the AJ Ferrari situation with UNC,
Hmm.
where AJ is not getting the $1.1 million NIL deal from UNC,
Right,
obviously,
right, right,
um,
right.
and received less than 10% of that to transfer to Nebraska. So Bo's going to be missing out on some money in that sense. I was going to be saving some money in that sense. Um, but I just think it's so interesting because everyone's coming for Bo in the sense that, he had this big, long commitment process with 107 teams and,
Yeah, yeah.
and the
He made a
sweepstakes.
spectacle of it.
Yeah, exactly. And then, had this big commitment, talked about how he wanted to go there his whole life and all that. And now they're saying, oh, like, look at this, like, decommits the first chance he can. I I really think Bo wanted to go there, and I really think Melvin wanted to go there, and they were both looking forward to wrestling
Yeah, I
there.
think they're upset about not going there
Yeah,
and how this played out, but
I think they're going to stand behind their family value, though. Obviously, like,
right.
you know, I don't know what was said, and obviously, if there was a big issue with their mother, I would be upset about that too as a recruit. And I
Yeah,
would say, hey, look, like, I want to go there, but no one's going to diss my family like that.
right. So one question that I do have is, what if the NAL deal had been started to like payment had started on that to Bo?
Yeah, good
What would
question.
happen if he then he decommitted?
Reneged.
Like, does he
That's
have
where
to
it's
pay the
like,
money back? Like where's that? How does that play
that's
out?
where I think we're starting to get into like kind of the pro style of sports where you could have a player that, demands a trade mid-season and then
Mm.
say, okay, well, you're only going to get so much of your contract. Like this is, I'm sure NIL deals are drawn up where like this is the
Well,
guaranteed money, this is the incentives, like this is,
this is a good question, and it's also a segue into a future Cactus video
yeah,
that
with Dan Hanley.
yeah, he will be breaking down some of the NCAA settlement with us. He is a leading antitrust expert, so he's gonna he's gonna answer some questions for us on basically. Hopefully he'll be able to answer for us like what would happen in that scenario or what's going to happen with how like teams or schools are gonna have to pay athletes if it's all equal or what have you. So more to come on that, but back
I
to
saw
Bo.
a just saw a joke where someone said Keegan Bassett has released his initial school list. He's quoted as saying, "With 3 years until my commitment, I wanted to begin the hype process now. 300 schools, 5 divisions, 3 continents, and no Iowa."
No,
Obviously, like it's a joke, but still like pretty silly. No, I think this sucks for Iowa. It sucks for the
well,
Bassett family who want to go
also,
there. It sucks for Iowa fans that like this
if you
couldn't
look
work
at,
out.
I think either you said it or sent someone that had said it, the snapshot of the cascade of things that have gone very poorly for Iowa
Oh
in the
yeah, it's been a
past
tough week
month.
for Iowa. Yeah, let me
Like,
see if
so
I
they
have
got
that.
Jordan Williams, great recruit, but they probably won't even get him now after he got arrested for what was it, a
It was
drunk?
like his third. It was like his third DUI.
It was a DUI, yeah. So
Yeah,
his third drunken instance there. So that's bad. Sammy Alvarez is medical red shirt is in question.
probably, yeah. It's like probably not going to happen.
So if it doesn't happen, that's a
That's
shot.
another. That's another like potential starter. They miss out on the Rainey brothers in the last possible second.
Yeah.
Oklahoma State. David Taylor takes the Hail Mary pass. It lands, and now, I mean, in the last month, the Rainey brothers they lost. Jordan Williams can't probably not going to be admitted for legal issues.
Yep.
Sammy Alvarez won't be possibly won't be probably won't be awarded the medical red shirt. They lose out on Bo Bassett. They lose out on Melvin Miller. And the easiest scapegoat is to just say, well, this is the brand's fault. And knowing me, I'm like, hey, it's possible. I mean, at the end of the day, for better or worse, the head coach and the assistant coaches are going to get the blame, especially when they are the face of the program.
Well, especially when you're
Um,
also out there known for saying no one's gonna tell me how to run this program.
yeah, and arguing with people's mom on the phone.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
it continues to beg the question, like, how long do the brands have?
Well, they have a contract that was
Through
extended, like,
2028, I think, right?
yeah, so that they're good for at least a few more years.
I don't know what's going to happen. And it just seems like they're having a lot of trouble. We talked about this with the Hawkeye Wrestling Club. I mean, they didn't really have anybody outside of DeSanto,
And Spencer Lee.
Spencer Lee, and he wrestled at U23s. Didn't get the spot. I think he might have won the spot.
Caliendo?
Mikey Caliendo. But other than that, like you see how many guys Oklahoma State's putting forward. You see how many guys Penn State's putting forward. Um, Bo has big freestyle aspirations. He's already a world champion. He's already a world medalist in
Who
another age
trains
group.
at the Hawkeye Wrestling Club? Is that
I
like,
don't know.
is it
I
just DeSanto and Spencer Lee?
I couldn't tell you. I know that they have
Look,
some young recruits that are like into Greco, but I really don't know. And I think that was why it was surprising when he committed there because knowing his freestyle aspirations, Oklahoma State or Penn State makes more sense. Especially when people are like, well, he'll just train with Spencer Lee, and it's like, well, first off, Spencer's 27 or 20, whatever he is, already 27, I think. He's going to be 28, 29 by the time Bo Bassett gets there, and he's a 57-kilo guy. Bo is at minimum a 65. And that's awesome to have a great partner like Spencer Lee, but your whole plan is based around the health of one guy who is known to have health issues.
DeSanto? You forgetting
Yeah.
DeSanto's there?
And Austin Santos doing good, but Jax Forrest leveled up and beat him.
You know,
Well, not beat him, but is ahead of
DeSanto's
him.
not. That's not the guy you're going to train with. Like you're like, oh,
Yeah.
this is it. This is hey, DeSanto's here.
So the Bo Bassett one to Iowa still was confusing. Um, and it's funny that like you have guys like Willie Saylor who are now coming out to say like, well, I told you guys he wasn't going to go to Iowa. Um,
Yeah, because this is what he predicted.
but who knows? I mean, I I still think it's between, as we know, Oklahoma State, Penn State, and Nebraska. But as we've discussed, it seems like with it being a package deal for the brothers, one school kind of makes the most sense as far as them all starting sooner rather than later, and that would be Nebraska.
Yeah.
But, you know,
Well,
who
and also
knows?
one thing you find with Nebraska is you don't really see that they people go there and they don't really transfer out. Like they really
No, yeah, they
grow.
stay there. Yeah.
Yeah, like so they might like that, and that I could see Bassett being the face of the program.
I got somewhat related, but I just remember like I was reading a lot of like Iowa hate where they're like, Bo Bass is kind of overrated anyway. And I'm
Yeah.
like, okay, well, let's calm down a little bit there. Yeah, he didn't have make the U20 team this year, but he didn't have like he had a match over Luke Stanek, who is an All-American. He beat um uh, he beat Valencia again. He's like 8-0 against him, and Valencia's 2-1 against Real Woods.
Yeah.
So, and then
Arguably, Valencia should be
yeah,
even
they
better.
should
Like,
be, it just shows the depth of our 65-kilo weight. Um, and then, Bo's already a three-time and Super 32 champ. He's going for his fourth. He's a three-time Ironman, three-time Powerade. Like he's gonna break folk style records in high school as far as being possibly the first four-time Super 32 champ and the first time four-time Ironman and four-time Powerade because no one's done them both. There's
so,
been four times in either, but no one's done both.
so do you think he is going to be a Chance Marsteller like Chael Sonnen
Well,
seems?
that's what I was gonna say. Is like we saw the Chael video, we talked about it. Chael was kind of bullish, I think they described it as on these high school guys where he's like,
80%.
PJ Duke, Jax Forrest, and Bo Bass. He goes, well, which of them is gonna get a girlfriend and quit wrestling? Which of them is gonna have a knee injury and quit wrestling? Which of them are gonna get into drugs and quit wrestling? And he goes, all of them. He goes, 80% of them are not gonna be successful. Um, and I'm paraphrasing here, but not too far off, honestly, from what he said.
I mean, I could see one of the three doesn't pan out, but all three not panning out,
Yeah,
that seems
you
like
know,
statistically, it's like, okay, one of the
it's
three maybe, but like
yeah.
all
It
three, that just seems ridiculous.
I don't know why he was, it's we're seeing it at an unprecedented level. And we talk about this all the time in videos. It's like, wow, like our younger guys are just getting better and better and better. Where, you know, our youth and high school athletes are doing things at a higher level than we ever have seen, and they're doing it more and more consistently than we've ever seen. Yes, there were greats like Kerry Colat. Yes, Chance Marsteller at a young age, you're like, wow, look at these phenoms. But now we're seeing guys make international teams, win big open tournaments, beat all Americans, and it's becoming the norm. I mean, you have guys like Marcus Blaze, Jax Forrest, PJ Duke, Bo Bassett, Luke Lillidahl that are having, young success. And then you have three four high schoolers right there that, two of them might even end up on the Final X World Team, depending on how Jax Forrest does. PJ Duke beats Yanni. Bo is, destroying the folk style scene. He's beaten national champions in freestyle. You have Marcus Blaze went up from 61 kilo to 65 kilo to beat the defending national finalist, going up a weight class. The likely and if you follow really intense, Super 32 and NHSCA and these big tournaments at the in the middle school division, which most people probably aren't doing yet, you're seeing that the next crop has just as many, if not more talented guys than we're seeing already. I mean, you have the Bachman brothers who are amazing. You have all these great young wrestlers, and I think it's kind of sour grapes from Chael Sonnen, who is a good face for the sport, but he's kind of been known as the guy that never reached his potential as a wrestler or as a fighter. I mean, he's never won a championship in Bellator or UFC while having multiple title fight opportunities. He's known for being the fighter who fell short in championships. He was a one-time All-American. He took eighth in college. Which again, like that's nothing to shake a stick at. Like that's awesome being All-American. That's awesome to be, in title fights. But, you know, these guys are already accomplishing more than he's accomplished, and they're 17, 18, 19 years old. And to say that, hey, like they're gonna get injured, they're gonna get into narcotics, they're gonna have a woman steal them out away from the sport is just baffling. Do I think that the injury bug is a possibility? Sure, we've seen it. PJ Duke has, a known injury history. Spencer Lee, look at how his injuries derailed his career. In a sense, I mean, Spencer has had an amazing career still, but if he never hurt his ACL in high school the first time, would have been a four-time champ
Well, he
in
also
high school, would have been a four-time champ in college, would have multiple world and my opinion, he probably would have won Olympic gold if he had
actually
all
he
that.
probably would have been a five-time champ in college if COVID
Yeah,
didn't happen either. Well, actually, no,
yeah,
if COVID didn't happen, that
he
wouldn't
would
have
have been a four-time.
happened.
But still, I mean, look at how injuries derailed him. But still, like Spencer Lee is not a bad career to say, hey, he's a three-time national champ and he just took silver at the Olympics. I mean, if you told me like that would be my fallback as a career, I would say like, dude, that's amazing.
Yeah.
So I disagree with Shale on that point. I think that we could see some guys get injured, but the whole thing about a girlfriend is, how many young wrestlers are we seeing getting married now? I mean, it's super common, especially these big schools. Guys are getting married in their sophomore, junior year, wrestling through it.
Well,
I
I mean,
mean,
they're also older as them.
yeah, yeah, that's true. There are some older guys there, but remember a few seasons ago, I think it was an Ohio State wrestler had a kid already and was still wrestling and was an All-American, was a finalist. Um, but I think that Shale is off with that one. And
That's fair. That's fair to say.
yeah,
I mean,
but
it seems rather unlikely that Chael is speaking accurately with how that will play out. But
I
uh,
also think it's unlikely that Bo Bassett is an overrated prospect just because he didn't make the U20 team this year. Jax Forrest didn't make the U20 team last year, and now he's in Final X. So, you know, people have up and down years. It just speaks to how tough our team is domestically.
yeah. So Bo Bassett, where do you think he'll land? What do you think? Who's telling more truth, the Bassett family or the Iowa Hawkeye
I kind
family?
of I hope, and it's not gonna happen, but I think it'd be hilarious if Bo makes another one of those like massive 90 team graphics, and the only team that's crossed off is Iowa. And it's like, hey, UPJ, Gardner Webb, you're back in the mix, baby.
Yeah, right.
It
Let's
was UPJ.
go. But yeah, let us know in the comments down below what you think is going on with this and any updates that you foresee in the future. And let us know if you want us to follow up on this. And as always, thanks for watching Cactus Wrestling.
Thanks for watching. We are Cactus Wrestling, and we'll see you next time on our next video.